Selamat pagi adik-adik mahasiswa. Kali ini kita akan membahas sistem muscular terkait proses adaptasi. Selamat menunggu.
We're going to be looking at the chronic or long-term physiological adaptations to exercise, but focusing today on the muscular system. We're going to look at several things. We're going to look at hypertrophy, increase in tendon strength, increase in myoglobin stores, increased number and size of mitochondria, increased storage of glycogen and increased storage of fat, increased muscle strength, and increased tolerance to lactate. So let's get started. Hypertrophy. You may have heard it pronounced hypertrophy. I is absolutely fine. But essentially hypertrophy is simply the increase in the size of muscle cells. So overall, therefore, the size of the whole muscle will get bigger. So muscle size in hypertrophy increases not just because we've got more muscle fibres, but actually because the fibres that are already there get larger. So the cells, the muscle fibre cells themselves, get wider, they fill up, if you like, and get larger. That is hypertrophy. There is some suggestion that there might be another thing at work in giving overall muscle size, and that is called hyperplasia. And we believe that it's growth hormone, human growth hormone, that stimulates hyperplasia. And hyperplasia is simply an increase not in the size of the cell, but increase in the numbers of muscle cells. So where new muscle cells are being grown, that is called hyperplasia. There is some debate about how much this affects muscle size overall and to what extent it can be developed and through exercise. And we think these days probably accounts for very little, maybe about 5% of overall muscle growth.
Oke, jadi adik-adik mahasiswa perlu ketahui bahwa aktivitas pengencangan otot atau resistance training salah satu tujuan utamanya menimbulkan hypertrophy atau penambahan atau pembesaran dari massa otot, bukan penambahan sel otot. Nah, perlu diketahui di sini pada saat terjadinya penyalahgunaan, sekali lagi penyalahgunaan, salah satu terutama adalah growth hormone, ya, di mana growth hormone akan memicu atau terjadi stimulasi penambahan jumlah sel otot. Itu yang kita sebut sebagai hyperplasia. Nah, dalam hal ini tentu penggunaan tersebut adalah menyalahi prosedur, makanya disebut penyalahgunaan. Dan saat ini dunia sains atau pengetahuan telah menciptakan begitu banyak produk-produk yang terkait atau sering disalahgunakan terutama oleh atlet-atlet binaraga untuk meningkatkan massa ototnya. Jadi tidak hanya ukuran otot yang membesar, tapi jumlah sel otot yang bertambah banyak sehingga saat ini menimbulkan bentuk otot yang mungkin sudah tidak terlihat manusiawi.
The next heading is the increase in tendon strength. And as we know, tendons will link muscle to bone. So they're different from ligaments in that ligaments are bone-to-bone connections. So a tendon will link muscle to bone so that when a muscle contracts, it exerts a force, a pulling force on the bone, and then it moves whatever joint it is or that it is connected to. So tendon is made out of collagen, which is found a great deal in the body. It's very strong, it's somewhat elastic, but particularly strong, and therefore it's a very good way of attaching the muscle to the bone to ensure that when the muscle does contract, the tendon doesn't tear, and we actually do get the movement we're looking for. So the tendons are made from collagen, and essentially the sheath of the muscle runs into the tendon and becomes part of the sheath that surrounds the tendon itself. The tendon attaches onto the bone, and it's there that the force of the contracting muscle will pull on the bone and create movement in the joint. If we want to strengthen the tendon, we find that the best way to do that is to do resistance training. So that's using relatively heavy weights to move the muscle and therefore having the knock-on effect of strengthening the tendon. A couple of things that do happen when the tendon strengthens are, first of all, individual collagen fibres will increase in thickness. And secondly, the number of collagen fibres and therefore the overall density of the tendon both will also increase as a result of resistance training. The increase in myoglobin stores is also a key way in which we can improve our overall levels, particularly of cardiovascular fitness. It's a long-term impact of exercise. We've talked previously about what myoglobin actually is, and essentially it's a compound which is very similar. It's a protein that is very similar to hemoglobin, which we know, of course, is found in the bloodstream. Myoglobin, however, is predominantly found in the muscle tissue, and its purpose is there to bind, similar to hemoglobin, its purpose is to bind with oxygen and store that oxygen locally in the muscle cells so that therefore there is plentiful oxygen available for production of energy within the muscle cell. Occasionally, we might find myoglobin in the bloodstream, and this can be an indication that something has gone wrong. If there is myoglobin in the bloodstream where it's not intended to be, there is a suggestion therefore that the muscle has begun to break down. Occasionally this can occur if there is extremely high intensity exercise over a sustained period of time, and certain sports and physical activities are associated with that kind of very high level of exertion. And one of the key indicators of damage to the muscle tissue is that we might find myoglobin in the bloodstream where it would not normally be found.
Jadi di sini ya, myoglobin similar atau menyerupai hemoglobin pada darah, di mana dia akan mensuplai oksigen dan zat-zat besi untuk menyiapkan energi atau nutrisi kepada kontraksi otot. Perlu diketahui bahwa kalau kita tahu yang ada namanya fiber type atau muscle fiber type, ada yang kita sebut sebagai fast twitch fiber atau slow twitch fiber atau intermediate twitch fiber, itu sangat tergantung dari konsentrasi dari myoglobin tersebut. Dengan banyaknya myoglobin pada otot tersebut menimbulkan warna kemerahan. Makanya pada yang tipe slow twitch fiber atau tipe 1 sering disebut sebagai red muscle atau otot berwarna merah. Sebaliknya yang tipe 2, ada 2A dan 2B, karena myoglobinnya relatif sedikit, maka warnanya cenderung lebih pucat atau keputihan atau sering disebut white fiber, ya, warna putih. Nah, aktivitas otot tadi sangat bervariasi tergantung genetik, pola bentuk tubuh, dan aktivitas atau aktivitas dominan daripada otot-otot tersebut. Otot tipe 1 atau yang disebut sebagai red fiber atau slow twitch fiber, dia memiliki daya tahan atau endurance yang panjang, tapi kontraksi atau intensitas yang rendah, ya. Nah, sering diidentikan dengan tipe tubuh yang bersifat ectomorph. Ectomorph yang bersifat kurus, tinggi, itu mereka cenderung memiliki kemampuan endurance atau daya tahan yang panjang. Sebaliknya, tipe otot yang berwarna atau tipe 2 yang berwarna lebih pucat atau white type fiber, dia memiliki kekuatan yang tinggi tapi endurance atau daya tahan yang pendek, sehingga orang dengan tipe ini cenderung lebih dominan pada cabang-cabang kekuatan, ya, seperti angkat besi, sprint, dan seterusnya. Ya, di sini dominan pada kondisi atau bentuk tubuh yang disebut meso maupun endomorph.
So mitochondria are organelles, so very small, very tiny, located within cells themselves. They are organelles designed for cellular respiration. That means that they are the place where energy is produced for movement. So as far as we're concerned, if we have a larger number of mitochondria, and if we have an increased size of mitochondria, we are able therefore to use various different compounds within the body, including oxygen and pyruvate, which we've talked about previously, to create energy and resynthesize adenosine triphosphate, that's ATP. We've talked about the importance of ATP previously. It is the crucial compound in the cell that must be present in order for energy to be provided for the working muscles. Without ATP, there's no movement, and without mitochondria, there won't be any ATP resynthesis. So for that reason, we often call mitochondria the powerhouse of the cell. But what we're interested in today is the fact that through training, you can increase the number and the size of the mitochondria that are in the cell. And obviously, therefore, an increased total amount of work being done by mitochondria at any given time in your body means a greater level of metabolism, a greater amount of cellular respiration, a greater amount of ATP resynthesis. And that's the key benefit of increasing the number and size of mitochondria through training. As you know, the human body is able to use carbohydrate, it's able to use fat, and in extreme situations it's also able to use protein in order to supply energy to move, to sustain life, and even to exercise. Our body would prefer not to use protein, that is the last on the list, so therefore we tend to use a mixture, at any given time, a mixture of carbohydrate stores, typically stored in the form of glycogen, and we use our fat stores as well. And both of those are there, they're available as fuel for exercise, fuel for movement, fuel for the cells, which we've just thought about. Training, however, can benefit us in two ways. Firstly, that we can actually increase the storage of glycogen, particularly glycogen stored in the muscle, which we would refer to simply as muscle glycogen. We are, through careful training and careful dietary manipulation, able to increase the storage of glycogen within our muscles. Two key things that we can do to make that happen is, once we've exercised and used up a good amount of the glycogen that is stored in our muscles, within about a window of about 2 hours after completing the exercise, we should consume some carbohydrate. And in doing so, that carbohydrate will be drawn to the muscle and stored there in increasing amounts prior to the exercise, so that the body is then ready to complete that kind of exercise again. So the body is adapting to be able to meet the demands of whatever exercise we are placing it in. A second thing we can do to improve that system is to add a little bit of caffeine. It's been shown that a little bit of caffeine after exercise can improve the glycogen storage compared to not ingesting any caffeine at all.
Ya, jadi perlu digarisbawahi di sini adalah nutrisi, ya, terutama karbohidrat, protein dan seterusnya, adalah sumber dari energi untuk aktivitas. Di sini dikatakan bahwa yang bisa menyimpannya adalah dalam bentuk muscle glycogen, ya, untuk nutrisi tersebut. Tapi sering yang terjadi adalah pada saat otot tadi tidak terlatih atau tidak pernah dilatih, maka kemampuan otot untuk menyimpan glycogen akan rendah. Jadi di saat lain konsumsi, ya, terutama karbohidrat, lemak dan seterusnya, pada saat ini relatif tinggi. Itu yang terjadi pada saat otot yang tidak terlatih, sementara konsumsinya tinggi, maka pada saat otot sudah tidak bisa menyimpan glikogen lagi, sisanya akan jadi lemak. Itulah yang menggelambir di perut Anda. Ya. Sama juga dengan kafein, yang di sini pengertian kafein adalah kafein itu sendiri, bukan teman-temannya. Ya, sementara kita di sini sering lebih banyak teman-temannya dibanding kafeinnya, lebih banyak creamernya, gulanya, dan seterusnya.
In terms of increased storage of fat, obviously we do need fat as a fuel. It's a very useful fuel because there's so much energy contained in a given density of fat. But in terms of its storage, we don't want to store too much fat on our body, as we then tend towards obesity. However, we have some suggestion that as a result of training, additional fat in the form of triglycerides possibly are present in the muscle, and therefore after long-term training, there's more of this fat available and present in the muscle, so that it can be more easily oxidized, that is broken down and used as energy, where maybe the glycogen stores have started to be depleted or start to run out. We might be able to then to move across to use the fat that's already there and present in the muscle, and that is known as intramuscular triglyceride. So intramuscular triglyceride is the fat that's stored within the muscle, and it is possible, it is suggested at least, that as a result of endurance training or long-term training over a long period of time, that the amount of fat in the muscle is increased.
Oke, di sini nih pada saat kapan Anda bisa menggunakan lemak atau triglyceride sebagai sumber energi adalah dikatakan pada aktivitas intensitas yang low atau medium. Tapi kembali harus diingat bahwa sistem energi kita itu melalui beberapa tahap. Jadi sebelum memasuki siklus Krebs atau Krebs cycle, pada saat itu tubuh sebenarnya menggunakan energi dari pembakaran asam laktat atau glycolytic fatty acid. Nah, pada saat asam laktat tadi sudah mulai terurai, glikogennya tadi mulai habis digunakan. Nah, pada saat itu tubuh akan memasuki siklus Krebs, di mana menggunakan lemak sebagai sumber energi. Dari situ bahwa kita bisa simpulkan bahwa aktivitas dengan intensitas medium atau tinggi itu bisa dilakukan lebih awal untuk menggunakan gula sebagai sumber energi. Kemudian setelah pada saat energi kemudian dari gula sudah mulai menyusut, maka kita bisa melakukan aktivitas dengan intensitas yang rendah, sehingga pada saat itu lemak akan lebih optimal untuk digunakan.
Muscle strength is another thing which increases as a result of chronic exercise, particularly if we're doing resistance, weight-bearing type exercise. Initially, however, that strength, the ability to lift a greater amount of weight or a heavier weight or a bigger set of dumbbells or whatever it might be, initially for the first sort of about 6 weeks or so, those gains in being able to move that bigger weight, those gains in strength, are essentially down to better neurological pathways, and that simply means that the brain is getting better at telling the body what to do. The brain is getting better at recruiting muscle fibers and using those muscle fibers to move the weights, and it might also be a little bit to do with the movement patterns that are set in the body. So we do see improvements in strength fairly quickly, without necessarily seeing an increase in hypertrophy or what we might call true strength gains. That is, without the muscle itself getting any larger.
Oke, ini juga mengutip dari kuliah sebelumnya bahwa kontraksi otot itu sangat ditentukan oleh berapa serabut otot yang bisa diinervasi oleh satu dari single motor neuron. Sehingga pada saat aktivitas, terutama aktivitas pengencangan otot atau resistance training ya diberikan dalam waktu rata-rata 6-8 minggu, terjadi proses respon tubuh ya, terutama terjadi rekrutmen ya motor neuron yang jauh lebih banyak, sehingga terjadi peningkatan kekuatan secara signifikan, padahal proses hipertrofi belum terjadi secara signifikan. Itu kenapa terutama pada lansia, pada saat mereka diberikan aktivitas pengencangan otot, terjadi peningkatan kekuatan yang signifikan meskipun massa ototnya tidak nampak membesar atau hipertrofi.
However, after those first few weeks, we do then see a steady increase in the strength of the muscle, provided that the training is progressed appropriately and is continuing. Muscle strength is also lost very quickly, and we potentially can lose after about 8 weeks of not training. We can lose around about 10% of muscle strength. At the same period of time, we might find that muscular endurance is much more quickly lost. So even as much as 40% of our muscular endurance can be lost within a similar period of time, within about 8 weeks without training. Finally then, we've got this idea that with exercise over a period of time, given the right kind of exercise, we can improve our tolerance to lactate. Lactate is a substance that is produced as a result of exercise, as a result of anaerobic exercise, anaerobic respiration, and it is found both in the muscle tissue and then often finds its way into the bloodstream. It was previously thought that lactate and its associated acid, which is lactic acid, which you'll have heard of, it was previously thought that these would affect directly the muscle's ability to contract or affect the muscle's ability to maintain a force of contraction. But the jury's kind of still out on this, and we are tending at the moment towards looking at lactate not as a negative byproduct, and certainly not as a waste product of anaerobic respiration, but actually it is a useful form of energy in both the muscle and in the bloodstream that can, provided there is oxygen present, can be broken down first to pyruvate, which we've talked about when we looked at energy systems, and then converted back into glucose, ready then for more breakdown to provide energy and the resynthesis of ATP. So we'll stick with the heading for now, but it is slightly more subtle than the idea that we increase our tolerance to lactate. Essentially, that lactate becomes useful to us because we're able to supply the oxygen that breaks it down and makes it back into a useful substance, that glucose that's so important for creating energy for movement. So thanks for sticking with it, thanks for listening through. We've looked at these various different things. We've looked at hypertrophy, increasing tendon strength, increasing myoglobin stores, increasing number and size of mitochondria, storage of glycogen and fat, increased muscle strength, and we've just done increased tolerance to lactate. Now all of these things, of course, are chronic, which means long-term physiological adaptations to exercise. We haven't really gone into detail as to which kinds of exercise produce which kinds of adaptations, but we'll do that another time. But these are just a generic list of some chronic adaptations that we can see as a result of exercise. Thanks very much.